Terrible.
It was terrible.
Oh.
How you like them apples? We're live.
Oh. I felt a little bit rushed to get here for 8:30. We're used to the 9 o'clock start, so this is interesting to
well,
switch
basically
back,
just thought because originally we had done 8:30, but then when the days got longer, it was getting kind of hard
to get in for 8:30.
Yeah, basically. So we figured, well, you know what? Let's go back to 8:30 because it's pitch black out right now. So.
Oh yeah.
Although we did actually go out and we were doing some chicken related stuff. So
yes, we did.
You can still keep going.
Hey, honey badgers,
hello,
how are you doing?
You? Hopefully things are going pretty good. I know I don't think you guys have got like full on snow that stayed yet. So hopefully you're still able to progress with some stuff. We haven't really touched base with you on that too much lately. So
I'm sure you're finding it as well. Time is just flying by and you're doing the panic of trying to get stuff done in the meager 8 hours that we have now.
And it's only going to get shorter.
I know.
We're on the what is it, the home stretch to the shortest day of the year. So
yeah,
it's coming.
It's crazy that we're talking about stuff like that.
And then it'll be time to start the year all over again. Yay.
The nice thing is, as we wrap things up, we get to that point where it starts to get positive again because you are starting to plan for the next year, right? You know, so it starts to be positive, but it's feeling a little bit like, I'm not going to say the panic is on, but it's just, well, yeah, there is always a bit of a panic, but it's one of those, it's like today, 4:30, because it was overcast because it's supposed to rain this evening, and it was 4:30 and it was starting to get dark, and it was just like, jeepers, how am I going to do dinner and this and get out and do chores? And anyways, oh yeah.
But just that's great that you don't have snow yet. The -4 is definitely going the direction of winter.
Well, the one thing that's nice, and we found this last year, we haven't had it yet this year, but last year, because it was wetter in kind of October, November, it was nice to have the cold nights because it made the ground firm up for us for driving over and moving things. Like, remember, we were rolling the buildings across, and we were glad that the wet ground was actually a little bit frozen. But it's kind of tough if you're trying to dig holes or something like that, and the frost starts to set in. Then it gets a little tough. But
yeah, the pig thing's been kind of a. Well, it's not completely done because we still have some of the younger ones, but a bunch more of them are going later this week. But it's kind of a bit of a sad one because it just feels like, I'm going to say it this way, it feels like some of the sort of changes and why we're making the changes and what have you, it feels like you're taking the fun out of it. But then at the same time, it's having that, I think we commented, it was Start from Seeds comment, we replied to that, and hello.
How are you doing? I'm going to get it wrong, and normally you write how to say the first part, and I'm terrible for it. It's not Hag, it's, write it in again for me.
We'll eventually remember.
We will. Repetition is the key with us, definitely. But sorry.
But
Huga, that's it. I knew it wasn't Haga. It was, yeah. Thank you.
And thank you for coming in.
Yes.
But yeah, it's one of those kind of bittersweet things, right? Because like we actually enjoyed them.
Oh, yeah.
We do think that they are as advertised, but like a lot of things in life, there's a lot more to it than just the face value. Perfect homestead hog.
Well, and it was really hard because we're getting to that point where we are actually keeping really, really, really good records on what it's costing us to do things. And unfortunately, as we approach, well, I think we're 13 or 14 years now of doing the homesteading thing, we're getting to that point that we have a really hard time justifying things that cost a lot. And
that's, we will say too, like totally
just us. It's not. It's just our mindset is we should be to the point that things should be going the right direction instead of more into the. Is it red? You're in the red if you're negative.
Yeah, I don't know, red.
And
black,
so this is where the changes are coming on all things on the homestead. Whether it's revamping how we're running the rabbits, downsizing rabbits, you know, we
Which we're
decided not.
really doing.
Well,
because-
we're still revamping it and looking at different avenues with it, but
Mhm.
yeah, it is just also kind of a, as much as we love them, financially it doesn't make sense to support them when you don't need them.
Unless we got rid of everything else,
Yeah.
because we could produce all the meat we need from a pair,
Yes.
but then it doesn't really leave a lot of room for anything else.
Exactly. So,
Which at face value is a very weird thing to say, but it is that case when you start going through the numbers. That it's
the reality sets in that as much as we liked them and almost kind of decided to keep them over anything else, the numbers still didn't add up, and it didn't work into our plan of sustainable, being able to actually grow feed for them, that sort of thing. So yeah, it was just, it is what it is, and we just kind of wanted to keep everybody in the loop on it rather than just be like, oh, they've disappeared from our videos. But that's awesome that you checked out my Etsy page. Thank you so much. It is one of those things that I have not loaded anything new on there. To be honest, I got a chance to get a few things done for some placemats, and I've been working on some mittens, but it got to the point that we're now November, and I get so worried that people will buy stuff wanting it for Christmas and it doesn't get to them. So I kind of have said, you know what, I'm just going to coast along, and next year maybe kind of try and be more organized and hopefully have a bit of an inventory backed up.
Well, that's the hard part with it, right? Because I don't do the quilting, but I do help you with some of it.
Well,
but
yes,
it's building that inventory.
Exactly.
The nice part is it's non-perishable.
And I had an amazing inventory built up when we moved here, and then I really haven't done a whole lot of crafting and quilting and art and all that sort of stuff since we moved here because we've been so busy trying to set up the farm. So I'm really excited because I think this winter, famous last words, but fingers are crossed that we will have time to really get going on that. I know I discovered crocheting this year, which I'm so excited about because I actually love crocheting. It's something I never did. I always knit. So I'm very excited to
kind of faster at crocheting than
me. Oh yeah. I have a problem.
Learn it.
Well, and we need to kind of really pull our finger out on getting some of the wool carded and spun so that we can keep going. But
that's one thing I think you're very good at, the color combination stuff, because you spend a lot of time figuring out what matches.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those. I think that comes a lot from because I'd studied fine art in university. That's my that among travel and tourism. I was one of those people that didn't know what they really wanted to do, but I'd always painted and always done art, so I studied fine arts. And then at the end of that, realized I wasn't getting a job. And so I went and studied travel and tourism to become a travel agent and flight attendant and all that. And then that didn't pan out either. And now I'm back to quilting and crafting, which kind of uses the art side of things, which I think is interesting. But I think that's what helped a lot with the colors and combinations, because I didn't quilt at that time when I was doing fine art. I just painted and did lots of drawing and that sort of stuff. But now I find I use all that color theory that I learned with the quilting side of stuff. But it's nice because it's kind of I have a fabric obsession, so that really helps because I have thousands and thousands of different pieces of material to try and mix and match and make things work. So I think was about 8 years ago we went. What was our one trip to the States? We went to the States for a fabric trip because Joann's down there had a great deal on, and so we went all through New York State, hitting up every Joann's from Watertown all the way down to is it Buffalo that you cross over again?
Yep, we did the loop on the south side.
And I spent thousands of dollars. It was crazy, but I still have it, and it's good inventory, and it's a good thing to have in a crisis situation or whatever because it's valuable. So, and it's non-perishable, so we're good. Anyways, that was my rant about.
That's a good one because that's something that. Well, I'm going to go to the comment you saying that the guide just keeping track of homestead type expenses would be something.
Huga. Say it more often and you'll remember.
Huga. Yeah, I'll say that. I think you just so I'm reading it right. You're meaning like a guide on how to do it, or a guide on things that people might like to purchase from a perspective of bringing income in, because both are great. I'm probably tired and not reading it quite right.
No, I think he's saying that you should try and work on developing some type of guide to help people understand it and what do you need to track, what are important. One thing that we find we track really, really like perfectly. This is our second year now, is anything that is is it called an annual expense? Like anything that you're going to be buying year after year after year, feed,
it's
all that sort of stuff.
I will say this: it's a lot harder to track those long-term expenses, like fencing. Right? Fencing is a really, really tough one because you have a crazy outlay early on. Okay, so yeah, you were meaning like a chart or something. That's something we should figure out.
Well, yeah, because we have our one that. I'm not a computer person. I hate having to enter stuff in on a spreadsheet on the computer. I use an old-fashioned ledger book and write it all in. But you could develop that as well to be the same. But we track the usual expenses that you can track from year to year to see if you're improving or not improving.
Well, it's like feed, right? Feed. Yeah. When you're purchasing feed's an easy one because you keep the receipts and you can
feed or things that you're replacing often. Like examples are like feed buckets and things like that get broken or damaged.
It's just the bigger things.
But we don't do infrastructure. We kind of have a file off to the side that has all of the receipts for wood and lumber and fencing, but it's not actually kept in our proper books, because if we looked at that, we'd probably really cry.
Well, you have a crazy outlay on the front end, right? And that's another thing that kind of goes. It's at face value again. It doesn't make sense, but with the pigs, that was another thing. Was we're going to need not so much fencing, but it's the barn space, right?
Yeah.
And we have a huge barn, but when you start trying to keep these smaller populations, even if you can't do it all, once you start having a massive numbers, you end up burning through that space really quickly.
Yeah.
And that's a huge factor to it.
Well, and we didn't want to cram them in like sardines or anything like that. It was trying to keep it as
extensive as possible, but that's I think we said it in the thing. If we live somewhere that you had pasture all or most of the year, it'd be much, much easier.
Yes,
exactly.
We do. We keep track of all the eggs every day, including what was used for, like what the birds sat, what we fed.
Well, we don't keep track of the eggs that they sat. We keep track of the chicks.
Well, the chicks that yeah.
But the nice part about that too is
so we keep track of the ones you sell as hatching eggs.
Yes,
that's tracked.
Or if you sell anything, so you've got like for the egg example, that's a really nice one, right? Because it's relatively easy to figure out what's your actual expense for chickens or ducks or whatever you're getting your eggs from. That's pretty simple. You can relatively simply, as long as you know how many birds you have, let's say if you're not breeding them, that's almost easiest because you can basically take that cost and divide it up amongst your birds. It's a little harder when you're breeding them and they have their babies and stuff because it's not such a all in, all out. It makes it a little harder, but you can still do it. You can still figure it out. But then it's also nice too because that's the part about the saving money that I think is really important now. It's always important, but that's probably the big one, right? Because you can take and say, well, if you've tracked how many, hello, Harvey Black 2, thanks for coming in. And feel free to, you're really good at sharing. Oh, he's not a blue wrench. I'm going to make you a blue wrench.
Oh, no, maybe he doesn't want to be a blue wrench.
Well, I'm going to make him one anyway. If he doesn't want to, how do we do that, though?
Don't you just click add moderator?
Okay. Maybe
he just wants to sit and enjoy our chat.
He totally can, but I have no problem if he wants to share stuff either. So there you go. You got a blue wrench. But yeah, it's like with the eggs when you're tracking what you bring in, you can also at the end of the year go, all right, what would that have cost me to buy it? And I think this is the hard part about the saving money versus kind of your homestead. Well, earning money and your homestead bleeding you dry, and it's like the whole thing about homestead, hobby farm, farm, right? And how you can kind of technically do all three. We're choosing the homestead pretty hardcore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And kind of shying away from the farm, sort of making the money side of thing. But if you can at the end of the year go, okay, well, eggs cost on average, I'm just picking a number out of there, like $3.99 to whatever a dozen at the grocery store. That's a really neat measure, because if your eggs cost you the same and you can feed your animals better, and it doesn't have, you can, the whole thing of like, that's the big thing. What's in your food? Well, if
yeah,
you can also look at it too, like, what's the local price if I bought it locally, and you're probably, you can see where I'm going with it. You're probably, one's a bit higher, one's a bit lower. You could have bought it at the grocery store cheaper,
but
there's
quality.
potentially a quality thing there, and you can kind of track all of that. So that was the part of the exercise that we didn't talk about too much, but about the cost. It's not just feed costs; it was also that other. If you're saving money, chickens are great. If you can set yourself up with chickens that reproduce themselves and actually do the old-timey, I'm going to use that term a lot now, the old-timey dual purpose, where they give you the meat and the eggs. And even better if they can do most of that themselves. It's like us with our 80-some chickens, and there's no incubator involved. So if you can get to that level, then you can really save money, even though the chickens are still costing you, because we do think it would be really hard, not impossible, but really hard to get to the point that you wouldn't need inputs for the chickens. Do you want a book?
I'd want a book.
I will give you a book.
Yes.
A handy dandy all-purpose paper book for writing down.
But the one thing that we did find was, the eggs certainly helped a little bit. Now I see, like you said, you're $5 a dozen out there, which is awesome. We didn't sell any this year. That's fine, between COVID and moving and things like that, and not working as much. We're not exposed to as many people that we would normally have sold eggs to. But we were doing $4 a dozen, and that we didn't have any problem with that. It was certainly worth doing.
We also didn't necessarily chase trying to upscale that. That was kind of a like, hey, we've got some extras.
Yeah, but I did notice there's two people down the road here that have signs now that say $3 and $3.50. So I wonder if we've had that kind of surge of so many people getting chickens. Like, we drive down the road, and there's chickens in the front of everybody's yard. So I imagine it's kind of become a bit competitive, but
that's a great, like, Honey Badgers has a great point, right? Like, some of the eggs are selling for $5. So if you can produce X number of dozen of eggs, and it's probably very hard on a strictly laying flock to get to the point where you can produce it much cheaper than that. But as soon as that flock can do both for you,
produce more chicks,
then you're laughing, because if you're producing the meat quantity and the eggs, like, we looked at it, and I don't know how many eggs usually you're getting when you're tracking it, but we're up to, like, weight wise, we're up to a point where we're over 125 pounds of eggs. That's not including what they laid to produce chicks. And of course, you do have wastage. They freeze, or you don't find them, or that sort of stuff. So that's not including that. And that's a lot. That's 125 pounds of your protein that those chickens produce, and that's not including the meat.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things, I don't think we've ever touched on it fully, and maybe we should in a chicken video. I always find that chicken videos are interesting, but like what we actually keep is a flock, because we keep about 24 birds.
24 to 35, give or take, right? Which, if you
including roosters over a winter.
If you go to some of those old-timey books, when they tell you, like, how many chickens should you have, I like that term. I think it's a good term, because it's kind of what it is, right? It's exactly that. It's like the old-timey, accessible to everybody, right?
Hey, Creative Redundancy.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
But it's what was that? What were we talking about? Chickens.
We were talking about the number of birds in the
flock. Yeah. If you look up a lot of sort of quote unquote old timey stuff of like where to start with a chicken flock, you kind of get that number of like the 30, right? But 30 is not a lot of chickens. It is, but it's not.
Pending your situation. I mean, if you're in town and have a quarter of an acre, don't go for 30 chickens.
No, that's different. But then you probably couldn't. You couldn't have a big enough group to make them do all that stuff.
Yeah,
and that's a totally different thing in itself, right? Because that's that case, and I think we don't have a hard time with it, but we don't want to come off seeming like our way is like you have to do it this way, and nothing else is even worth it, and whatever. Because it's like
chicken math, exactly.
Because it is one of those things. Depending your situation, like you said, if you live on a quarter acre in town and you can't have massive gardens and you can't have all the livestock and whatever, then anything you can do is still
something
completely worthwhile. And there's certain things that you still can do sustainably that you can keep it going indefinitely without purchasing more too. It's just
so no worries on the a short visit. That's not a problem. We totally get that. We there are some nights that it's hard to get to everybody and to say hi and follow along, but we do appreciate coming in for sure.
We don't have the shelves sorted out, as you can see. This is probably a longer term thing.
Yeah. Hey, Thorhaven.
Hello,
yeah, shelves are an ongoing issue for us.
You never have too much shelf space, and then once you think you've got enough shelf space, you just need more shelf space because you probably have more stuff that you need to put on shelves. But that's interesting. We're gonna go back to Honey Badger's one about like she's saying everybody has chickens, lots of people have ducks because we're noticing the same thing. Because when I had ducks, well, we got rid of them not that long ago, but like nobody wanted ducks.
Yeah,
there was. You were basically, and that's kind of going back to that self-sufficient thing because there was no market. You had no interest in people purchasing them.
Hey, James.
So it was very much like you were doing it for yourself and you had to make it work. But it's interesting on the geese because I think there's something to, if you've got the space, I think there's something to raising geese that's, again, really old-timey.
Yeah, we just posted a video about that we were getting rid of stuff and we were done changing on the farm, and who's getting something this week?
More geese. That's not really a change. That's
somebody's going to pick up some more geese.
Oh, again, 3.
3 geese is still more geese.
But they're not related to the geese that we have.
So. He can't help himself. That's the problem.
No, that's not true.
But at least it's the same species and everything else. So we're not adding something different.
Well, it's not.
There'll be another, look what we brought home again, more American buff geese. That's like our 5th time doing that video. It's an ongoing, hope you're doing amazing tonight and the gods have been smiling on you. Well, they seem to be. I mean, we managed to get here at 8:30 tonight instead of 9, which I think is pretty good.
Not
because, I'm getting to that point, it's nice to do it a little bit earlier. So you don't get that big lull between darkness and live.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So James is saying he's got, keeps 10 per strain and 4 strains. Is that, I apologize.
Probably meaning like a line.
Yeah, like lines of the same.
Yeah, we call them lines, but strain probably is the same.
We're aiming for that. Like right now we have.
Oh, we have 5.
We've got 5 female lines of the partridge chroniclers.
And we're hoping to have 6 to 8 birds in each line. Mm-hmm. So that would
we may not make it for them all this year, but that's the thing, right? We're building.
Yeah, so 30 lines. To 35 birds is what we're hens is what we're hoping to overwinter, and then always the 5 roosters for each group. So.
Oh, no worries about that. Totally makes sense because that's a lot that's a long distance to go to get a very big, heavy piece of equipment.
Oh gosh, yes. He's working on the goats for spring.
Well, that'll be good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, buzzing around a lot between lives. Exactly. We were talking about this the other day, how it's so interesting how it works that you could be in lives that are completely different. I won't say topics, but like the people are doing a channel for something completely different and yet, vaguely related. But you see the same people in and out of them. And it's wonderful because that shows that community building. Mm-hmm.
And no problem, Harvey Black. We definitely bump into you often, and that's that thing too. Like we don't have a problem if people want to share stuff
Oh yeah.
in our lives. I mean, there's not that many of us here, but we probably all know each other.
Yeah.
maybe I shouldn't assume that, but yeah, definitely appreciate it. And actually, I can go back to Honey Badger's comment because the geese, they're coming for practical purposes. As much as you make fun of it, you agreed with it right away. So, and we don't have to go very far to get them.
No,
so
they're just down the road, so that's actually pretty
it's
good.
kind of a win-win-win, and
Yeah.
they're not that expensive.
Exactly.
Anyway.
But yes, Chris, more geese. So now we will have 8 geese for the winter.
Mm-hmm. But we'll be well on our way. But on the greenhouse part, we actually did start putting together the I'm gonna call them the hoop house. I don't know.
It will eventually. We bought 2 of those. Everybody's getting insider information, but we bought 2 of those carport. You know, the Shelter Logic carports, with no intention of doing them as anything besides greenhouses. So they've been in boxes now for a year, and so we started putting one up, and then realized, because we were going to put on. I'm giving away all of the secrets of the video, but because we were putting the proper plastic on them on the roof instead of the corrugated hard plastic instead of the hard type plastic, we realized that if we put it up too high, we're not going to be able to put it on. So it's kind of, they're sitting out in the yard really short right now, and like they'd make excellent sheep barns or something because they're all short. But we did make progress on it, but it did not get as far as we would like, and I have a feeling it probably isn't going to get finished before next spring.
But if it doesn't, it'll get finished next spring because
it'll be started at least
on its way to being started.
They won't be sitting in their boxes rusting. They'll at least be up.
Rusting.
So they'll be up rusting, yes.
But we do go live on Tuesdays. We were going at 9.
We were doing 9 during the summer when we were gardening and stuff. And now we're
thinking we're going to switch at least
because we started last fall or
at 8:30.
At 8:30. Was it fall or maybe it was in January? I don't know.
Spring.
Anyways, whenever we started doing lives, we always did Tuesday, but it was at 8:30, and then we switched to 9 because it got hard to come in out of the garden and stuff early enough.
Yeah,
and now we're kind of dark at 5:30, so we're back going to do the 8:30 time, which is nice because then we catch some people, because we've got some people out on the East Coast that the 9 o'clock was getting a little bit late because it was already 10, and I mean, Honey Badgers, you're always so committed in here with us, even though I know you're an hour past us.
And sometimes we go pretty long.
And they do, I'm going to be terrible on my Canadian history or whatever, but because you still do the daylight savings time on the East Coast, right? It's only Saskatchewan that doesn't do it. Right?
I don't remember, but I think
you do. Right. I think you do the daylight savings, but anyway, so yeah, so we're always on Tuesdays. We're going to do 8:30 from now on until next summer again, when it gets hard to get in from the gardens. But and we usually post on our community tab if for some reason we're not going to be, like if something comes up or whatever. But but definitely don't worry. Hopping around is not a problem. We're culprits. We do he'll be in one live and I'll be in another live, and we'll be kind of back and forth and sometimes. So it's hard to support everybody. I totally get that. You
can't be everywhere all the time.
But exactly. But
I'm going to go back to Harvey Black's comment for a moment about the prepper verse, because I think it's like a shameless plug here to one, but thank you for sharing this out there, because I think, and it's not that we're the experts or the only ones or whatever, but I think there's a lot of, because we have a bit of a prepper mentality.
A bit?
Well, yeah, we do. And
we prep.
I think that's where the overlap comes. Like, but the thing of it is, it's the simple stuff. It's like, I say it over and over and over again. It's like how to grow and propagate tomatoes, how to, it's that type of stuff that it's like you want something. Storing it's good too, but if you can propagate it, that's an excellent skill set to have. But
there you go, just a night owl. That's you'd stay up. I'm like, I'm done. I've got to go. I got to go to sleep. I'm going to be a mess. If I don't get like 7 or 8 hours sleep, I am just useless.
You get to a point, and then you're like, I'm done.
Yeah. So, but
yeah, it's pretty much you have to sort of, and like, and not in a bad way, but it's hard.
Yeah. Sorry, I was going to because creative redundancy. You do. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember what day, because you do lives as well. What day is yours?
usually.
Yeah. I know we're newer to, we've only recently found you, so I don't think we've maybe had one of your lives come up on our stream yet, but I know you do lives as well, and I just can't remember what day. I'm guessing it's not Tuesday.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. Ours are fortunately kind of getting to that point.
Yeah, we're to that point now. Not on Tuesdays, that's for sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We're to that point now that the kids they're 9 and 10, so
they're a bit more
they're independent. So I mean, if you're out doing something, they're either going to help you or help you for a little bit of time, and then they're quite off to do their own thing. Mm-hmm. So hopefully not on a tablet. But that's okay, because they're getting to the point they're a little bit helpful. Like Alex helped me pick carrots and stuff today, mm-hmm. and onions, and you know, it's just the attention span's not quite there yet. But the one thing that I'm going to go on a little bit of a thing, because I'm so proud of our daughter Alex. She sat down today, was it yesterday, and said about how she enjoys just listening to Chris and I, and she learned so much, and she loves to sit in on our adult talks. And it was funny because she had learned so much from us and was talking back to us about all the things that we talked about with the pigs, all the things which you think they're not paying attention and it's just going right over their head. And nope, she knew exactly why we decided what we did, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
The getting older thing. Yeah. Yeah. I'm feeling that. It's running well, we're yeah, you're not that old. You're not allowed, you're not even 40. You're not allowed to say that yet. Not until next year. Then you can say that. But no, we get that whole thing where we're sitting on some lives and then we go, God, we really should edit something. And then next thing you know, it's like 1 a.m. and you're just like, oh no.
You get up and do it all over again.
Yeah.
Nate, Creative Redundancy. Yes. Thank you very much for coming in. We'll catch you
on your next
thing. We'll catch you sometime in the near future.
Yeah.
On one of yours or ours. But
Alex. Yeah. Well, then you're lucky then if you got one like her, because it's wonderful and she just absorbs everything, and she's not quite to the age that she puts it into practice yet, but she understands so much of it and really wants to help. So it's kind of nice to spend the time, and you know, you don't always have the time, because sometimes I have to admit we're in a rush to get something done because we're always late. It's like our garlic. We still haven't planted garlic.
It's coming. It's going to happen.
Coming, yes.
We will do it maybe this weekend. Or next weekend. One of those two. Yeah, the chit chat about the specific food pricing and stuff. I think that's where building stability on your own homestead. I'm going to just say it that way. It doesn't have to be a homestead, but making sure you have that stability, i.e., like James Butcher's saying, he's got only the white Sean declares. That's great, because he can keep that going with the 4 lines and the 10 at each line. Like, I'm going to say this: is it perfect? Is what we do perfect? Absolutely not. Could it not work, or did something die, or they get eaten by a predator or whatever? Absolutely, that sort of stuff could happen, and you can do a lot of things to prevent it. But by having that nucleus, you've got stability, and that's really what a lot of this pricing stuff. I'm going to sort of stick to food, but that's what it is, right? It's that unknown and that lack of stability. If the only known is that it's only going to increase in price, that's pretty sad. But and that's not. I say it's never going to go down. It's not going to happen forever, but
it's going to happen for a while.
Still a great example that there is merit and value to.
Well, the one thing that's
having that stability yourself as much as you can, having the stability over the things that you can control.
Yeah, one thing that we noticed: oil, vegetable oil, olive oil, everything. I mean, we used to buy olive oil, even last year, $3.44 a liter. That's what we paid, and whenever we saw it at that price, we would stock up. And we cannot find it for under $6 a liter now. And that's like that's on sale. They're advertising and limiting you to 4 and whatever. So things like that we've kind of noticed definitely on that. And a little hike in the milk price we noticed at the grocery store, which I'm not sure if we don't pay attention to it. So I'm not sure if it's been gradually happening or not, but
Well, we noticed that with the yogurt. It
yeah,
has been gradually happening with the yogurt because the price stayed the same, but the quantity went down.
yeah, yeah. The yogurt things used to be 750 mil, and we noticed the other day when we were packing up stuff that it was 650 mil. Container looks identical, so you'd never notice. The price didn't change, but the amount that you got changed, which was, we were quite surprised at that. But to be honest, I haven't bought yogurt again because I'm a little bit perturbed with that.
It's not that you wouldn't buy it. It's just
it's just one of those, because now I know. I'm just like, out of spite, I'm like,
No, it happens. Hello, Drops. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's everything, right? Because the oils are,
well, it's processing,
kind of,
right?
they're expensive, right? Because it has to go
shrinkflation, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That, to be honest, the yogurt was the first thing though that I really, okay, besides bacon, everybody noticed when bacon went from 500 grams down to 375, yet the price never changed. It just got higher. But
well, I'm sure if you actually, this is the thing about records, right? Because I'm going to say it. I don't know that you actually would ever keep records of the things you buy well enough to see the difference.
Mm-hmm.
But if you actually did, it would probably be shocking.
Yeah.
It actually probably would be very shocking.
To go
all
back
the
through
various things that
that
change. But yeah, those are the things that hence why you want goats.
Exactly. Something that provides it.
And I'm not to skip over anybody at all, because what Drop said about the stocking the oils. Exactly. That's what we're a little late, because we had a bunch stocked.
No, we stocked. We've got about a year's supply, and
we're
going now that the prices are starting to go up. The moment we see those sales, we're going to be those people that are in there like, buy it and start the car. Yeah, it's like the IKEA commercial, but it just is one of the same thing with butter. I mean, we never bought, and I know this is one of those things. We could do other things than butter, but we never bought butter unless it was on sale for $2.44 or $1.99 or something like that. And now you can't find it. I mean, $3.98, and you're buying lots because that's cheap. And it's never dropped down in the last 2 years now.
I'm going to go to Thorhaven's one about the goats.
That's why I stocked bacon.
We'll come back to that one in a second. But the goats too. I'm going to say this, and a lot of people don't do this or don't think about it. But and we chose the sheep over the goats because we had the land to do the sheep. But you can also produce a lot of meat from those goats, because to get milk, you have to breed them. They have to have babies.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the chickens. If you can get the eggs and the meat out of them, if they can lay you the eggs and they can
become dual purpose or multi-purpose,
finding more purposes and stuff, and going to the next thing with the bacon, that's a big reason. We're back to what we were talking about earlier on, but making the decision to get rid of the pigs was that basically you make the joke. Ham, sausage, bacon, but
I always justified them as they were triple purpose, but apparently that is still single purpose.
Well, it's meat,
I
right?
know, I'm bugging you.
Which again, we could have had the pair, and we could have produced all the meat we ever need, but we don't produce all the other stuff, and then that's where the expenses also start to go up, because you're producing all your meat, but you might want eggs, and you might want milk, and you might want whatever. So then you're still having to add all those, and that's only keeping one pair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But,
well,
yeah.
The
that's awesome, James, that you've been keeping them going for 40 years now. Like that's amazing, because
Chris is 13 years now with the partridge chanticleers.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a big accomplishment. 40 years is way bigger than anything I've been doing.
That's amazing.
So.
Yay.
That is amazing. Like, definitely don't be, what do you call that? Be proud of that.
You should send us a couple pictures of your flock.
That would be cool.
Our email so we can see.
And
it's great to hear people doing. You're doing exactly what we do, and that's wonderful. Not that you can't do it the other way, but it's always nice to find people that are doing it the same way, and so it's great. Parent stock stuff. You know what's really funny is I come from a family that never, ever. And I don't know if that's just part of what started on. I really don't know what started it for us.
My parents did a bit. Probably not a full 2 years.
My parents didn't even have a freezer.
No, mine had 2, and it was
Just
kind
the
of
fridge
that
freezer.
thing. It was kind of that thing of like it's harvest to harvest, right, for a lot of things. So,
Well, your parents, your mom had a garden.
had a pretty big garden.
Yeah,
my dad hunted and stuff, and it wasn't perfect, but it was still a lot.
Oh, they did stuff. Yeah,
got brought in. Sunflower a lot, yeah.
What's the we were looking at for the was it wasn't sunflower oil. No, we looked into making our own mayo, because we kind of were like, oh well, with the price of things and being self-sustainable or whatever. It's not really, because you still have to buy oils, but anyways, we thought, well, it's better for you, maybe we should do it, we should whatever. And then we started looking into the cost of the oils to make the mayo, and it was just like, I can't make it. It's a fraction of what.
It would be nice to eventually get to the point that you could figure out making some of those oils, and there are ways to do it. That's not something we've looked into.
Yeah,
but you then need.
But we are going to do a video on the sunflower, the nut butter.
Yeah, see if we can make that work.
Sunflower seed. What is it called?
It's sunflower butter. Sunflower seed butter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're excited for that one.
It didn't sound all that hard to make, but.
No, I was tempted to buy it in the store today just to try it, but we're going to just make it.
And sunflowers are something you could physically grow enough of them, especially if you do the oil seed type ones. You could potentially, hypothetically, make oil out of them, because people, that's how they came into existence. People bred them for that, and we're doing it at a small scale. So I just don't know how to do it yet.
We always like experiments, so.
But that is a big, that's a big price jump, up to $12.99 for 2.8 liters. Now, is that cold pressed by any chance? Because I know cold press is usually more expensive than the other extraction methods.
I think so.
It probably is, but yeah, pastures for the cows.
Yeah,
like the pigs versus sheep. Side benefits and goats for the meat. Yeah, exactly. I think it sounds a bit. It sounds a bit bad, but trying to get the most out of your animals is not a bad thing, because the animals, unlike the plant side of things, don't get me wrong, setting up an orchard is expensive, but once it's set up,
well then
you kind of have it, right? Whereas the animals are that annual expense all the time.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
The more you can get out of them to a point, the better.
Well, it's not getting out of them; it's focusing on.
Yeah, that will give you the most products.
Most bang for your buck, exactly.
Without going down an industrialized scale.
I think that's one of the things that's definitely spurred all of our changes in the homestead this last couple months, and that's putting really, really good thought into that. Is we still sit with a big mortgage, and we have to make decisions that help us to get that paid off, because at the end of the day, if you don't own where you live, it could be bad. So it doesn't matter how much we think we need the extra animals or this, that, or the other. It comes down to balancing it all to make sure that other things are paid first.
Yeah, exactly.
But when it comes time to eating your goats, you hit us up. We got some good recipes. Caribbean goat stew is amazing. I actually canned quite a bit of it this year. And it is one of those things that we still have a lot of goat in the freezer that I plan to make into Caribbean goat stew. Mm-hmm. It's a very easy canning recipe. Well, I shouldn't say it's easy. There's not a lot to it. Drop stocked up on his oil there about 3 months ago. And I kind of wish we had done a little bit more with that. We did with the olive oil, because that was the one that we were most concerned about. And then when we saw like the vegetable oils, which is usually cheap as dirt, has gone up like crazy too. And just, it was crazy. So, but mayo in huge buckets, that's pretty good. We get, what are they, 500 mil, those jars?
Yeah, and you usually do the same thing.
And they're $2, $2.97, that kind of thing. And then when we looked into how to make the mayo, and we're like, well, jeepers, it uses 2 cups of olive oil or whatever the other oil was. Was it avocado oil? Yeah, avocado oil. We're like, I can't afford to make homemade mayo.
We should get a mic, because I'm probably the quiet one. You aren't, but
I'm loud.
And I can't get too close to it because it's on the it's mounted with the camera. But
my kid. She realizes all kids don't get to. Yeah, ours are used to definitely a lot of. Well, they even pointed out the other day, like about the fact that we eat lamb 3 times a week and that
Which you
sort of
wouldn't
stuff.
probably do
No,
if
you wouldn't if you were buying it.
Yeah, exactly.
We eat a little exotic, I guess you could say, for by American standards, I suppose, not by probably Australian standards. Lamb's probably lamb.
Well, there's places, yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. It's pretty good, the 3 pounds of carrots for 50% off.
Yeah. 2 bags. Are you talking, when you say chips, do you mean like potato chips? Well, 2 bags. Well, no, because I was going to go on a tangent about the fact that everything else is going up, yet I can always find poppin' potato chips for $1. That just blows my mind.
If you think about it, it's not too mind-blowing, but we were talking. You're going to do a thing on the goat stew at some point.
Yes,
it's pretty simple.
The Caribbean goat stew. What's in it. It is goat, obviously, but it's got.
Or you could use lamb.
Yeah, you could use lamb. I don't have the recipe right handy, but it's got like cumin and those kind of spices in it. Yeah, you probably would. You probably would know it. You probably would correct me on how I'm not making it with the right stuff. I could go up and find it, but yeah, I don't have my phone here.
Yeah, potato chips.
Speaking of, well, just because we were talking to Eldan, how are the chickens settling in? Okay, hopefully good. I think I'm not going to say whatever, but I have a feeling that we gave you my favorite rooster. We went out today because there was 2 brothers together, and I said, they're both really, really good roosters, and I will, we put one with your chickens. And then I went out the other day and I went to pet one, and I'm like, oh, you didn't let me pet him. So I have a feeling that we gave you my pet rooster.
You have others.
I know, I've got lots of pets, but it was one of those things. I'm like, I think you got my good rooster.
We had to go and catch them at night. So
yeah, it's hard to tell them apart at nights to make sure you're getting the right one. Other than obviously they're banded for color, but anyways, I hope they're settling in good.
Hopefully. We were sorting more chickens tonight, actually.
Yes. Hello, Samuel. Welcome.
Yeah, that makes sense. When you don't have as much as you necessarily like of it, it does become a treat, because we've gone through that quite a few times with different things where it's like you start an endeavor. I know you guys didn't just start it, but you start an endeavor and you don't have as much as you'd like, and then you really like it, and it kind of becomes that treat thing.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, those end up being the things where you kind of expand on them in the future when you really like the product that you get from it.
Yeah.
Drops his rooster pecked him yesterday. Most of ours are pretty friendly.
Ours are all very friendly. Yeah, I've even trained my big goose to eat out of my hand now, which is kind of cool.
Well, he's funny. He's the one that he's not aggressive at all. But
the bag of chips is like half a potato. I'm really as I choke on my excitement here. I'm really excited to make my own potato chips. We grew so many potatoes this year. I have great intentions. If anybody's ever actually made homemade potato chips, email me the recipe, because I really want to try and do homemade baked potato chips, because potato chips are like my one weakness. I've been good. I have been really good. I mean, really good. Like, I eat maybe a bag a month now. It's true.
Yeah, it's true. We don't eat that many of them.
No, but they are, they're my weakness, is potato chips.
We haven't met up with tomorrow yet, but tomorrow.
Angie's coming tomorrow, and with Kendra from Plowman's Backyard. The 2 of them are coming tomorrow. They're picking up some chickens as well. Everybody's getting chickens. Now we joked about, as we're packing up all these chickens, we're going to be left with a whole lot of roosters. So I guess butcher season is coming.
Yep, we're going to have to sort that out.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome that you'll be letting them out tomorrow. I'm sure they'll
be fine.
they'll figure it out, no problem. Where they need
Yeah.
to go back to.
Yeah.
Cucumber chips.
Interesting.
Try.
You don't like cucumbers though.
No,
maybe
I'd
chips.
be willing to try it.
Yeah. I like that drops. He likes to two-step, one step back and then a sidekick step. Oh, dancing roosters.
Well, dancing roosters is a good thing, though.
I know.
When they actually dance well for the hens, they're usually a lot better behaved.
Yeah.
Chocolate. Yeah, chocolate would fall into that category of you can't really grow it, so if you're going to eat it, you've got to figure out.
I could do without chocolate. I can't do without chips.
But you can grow chips.
I know. So I'm golden. It's those that have a chocolate addiction that have trouble. I will be able to figure out how to make my salted chips.
But you can store chocolate for a long time.
And I like my salted chips with sour cream dips, so I will eventually be able to make sour cream. So I'm good. Mm-hmm. My junk food category is covered in the event of a crisis. Oh, wow, that's a big rooster. Yeah. And rum, he says. Yes.
Can you make rum? You must be able to.
North Shore makes rum all the time. Yeah. He's always talking about
rum. I never looked into it.
Because, Thorhaven, you made like moonshines like whiskey, right? Not rum. I think. We're not big drinkers. We do cider.
Yeah, we make a lot of it. We never drink it.
I know we drink our booze cabinet just keeps filling because we make apple liqueur and the cider stuff and whatever, and we never drink it. So
we drink some, but we don't drink much.
But
we should drink
we used to drink a lot more when you could socialize a lot more, and now since COVID, everybody's we don't socialize as much. So, and then you're always
in our bubble.
Yeah, our bubble.
Yeah, the wine. I'd like to try that because grapes are on the agenda. Like we've got the wild grapes, but rum and whiskey.
Oh, rum as well. So, hey, Sweeney's Creek.
Hello.
So just to pick your brain, you probably put this in a video. I probably even watched it and didn't even realize. But you have a still for making these? And if so, could you send me the details on what kind of still this is and how because I've looked it up. There's a lot on like Amazon and places like that, but I have no idea what we're getting into and what would be a good idea. I do want to get
hello, Black Tropical Home.
I want to get essential oil. What do they call it?
Diffuser?
No, the still to make essential oils, which it's very inexpensive, but I don't think it's man enough to actually make.
It wouldn't necessarily do it in any quantity.
Yeah.
Because it's the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
What still? Exactly.
Can sell it to the neighbors. Yeah. Well, we'll have quite the stash because we keep making more, thinking we can't let it go to waste. We need to make some more. What did I try and make? Oh, I tried to make apple wine. It was a total disaster. It was drinkable, but it was not good. But I have a feeling I let it sit too long. I think you've got to make sure, like when it hits that point, you do it. And I left it sitting there. So I think that was my problem. But I need to do some more work on my liquor making and wine making.
You mean essential oil making?
Yes, essential oil. Yes. What did I say?
We'll sort that out later.
Oh, how to do essential oils?
Yep.
Yeah, but see the essential oil one, you can buy it right online, and it's just a little like ball that heats up, and it's got all these things, and then it drips out the thing. And I mean, that's pretty good. I could use that. It seems like I couldn't blow anything up. Potentially. Are you just making people moderators without asking them? That's not how it works. Chris just keeps making everybody. Pretty soon, everybody who comes in and chats is going to be blue. We won't even need, it's going to be wonderful. You'll know as soon as there's an outsider in here because they're going to not be blue.
There's no commitment. It's just, why not?
Moderating for us is actually, I suppose, pretty easy, realistically.
Yeah, we're not that
crazy. We're not too controversial. We don't start upsets.
No, not really, no.
Honey Badger's son wants us still.
We've got one. Cuts down trees for us.
That's not the same thing. It doesn't cut down trees very often.
No, that's true. But this winter,
Yeah.
it'll cut down more.
Famous last words. Going to go and cut some trees.
It's hard to blow yourself up.
Well, you know, but it's kind of what's the other thing? People are saying with pressure canning that it's going to blow up or something's going to happen, right? So it's like you never know. I guess if you don't know something, right? Because I don't think there's. I mean, I've had my pressure canner rocket and it has not blown up. So I don't think you could blow it up.
We don't recommend doing that.
No, we don't.
Regularly.
We don't. But you know, so the still thing is a bit. You know, I don't know. I don't know what I'm getting into. So maybe I could blow it up. I don't know. I got some learning to do.
Doesn't sound like it.
No, I got some learning to do on that, but it's a quest.
Quest for more information. That never ends.
Well, he says it's not like what they make it out, so that's good.
I get it. A lot of things aren't.
Yeah. Well, because we have like the presses and all that sort of stuff to do the wine. We've got all the demijohns and the little like gauge thingies for on top and all that sort of stuff. We have all that, we've just not actually executed making anything with it.
Well, I do want to get, that'll be a future goal. We've got one kind of grape, a seedless grape, started.
Yeah.
I'd like to get a second, like a red.
Well, and you could have made that of wild grapes this year. There were so many.
I don't know if I would have had enough to do it, though, because you have to collect a lot.
True.
And they're smaller.
Yeah.
You can make it out of it, but I don't know if we would have had enough
maybe
grapes to do it.
Yeah. Definitely apples. That's going to be my first quest, is to make apple wine. And I tried this year, and it was not fantastic. So, Apple Tree Urban Homestead, hello.
Well, that's awesome, turning your backyard into an urban homestead. That's great. Great news.
Hey, Rambling with the Brums.
Hello.
How are you doing? I was talking.
Yeah, that's what I say you do most of the canning, but a lot of the stuff we do is the water bath. But I will say it opens up a lot of possibilities with the pressure canner. The pressure canner.
Yeah, and I will admit I am the same. I don't water bath can my pickles. I do my jams if I'm going to, even though you're not supposed to. If I'm going to give them for gifts or things like that, I do water bath can them just because then I've done the process. But it is kind of one of those things. The pickles, I find I can't stand them when they get water bath cans because they're soggy and horrible. And to be honest, we don't have, nothing sits around long enough. We don't have stuff that is here for years. It's by next year, all those jams are gone and you're remaking them all. So,
but then pickling is different too, right?
Hey, Chrissy.
Hello, thanks for coming in.
Altruistic Homestead. Well, thank you for coming in from Altruistic Farmstead. That's cool. Use champagne yeast. That's what somebody else told me too. And they said you could buy it at any winemaking place. So that might be my quest for next year. Because I have a feeling the apples out back now they've gotten too frosty.
I don't think they'd work, no.
They'd make iced apple liquor.
You made pickled eggs that were actually pretty good.
Oh, they were good. Yeah.
You probably should make some more. We're kind of that same thing. A lot of the eggs don't sit around.
Well, and I didn't pickle them we have 2 fridges. So like I've got a lot of fermented salsas and turnips and stuff like that are in a fridge now.
If anybody hasn't tried pickled turnips, they're awesome.
Yes, try them. They're amazing. But the pickled eggs, same thing. We just put them in the fridge because they don't last. So, and the nice thing is I can just drop some more eggs in the liquid if I really want to do that.
That's also true.
Sorry, honey. Yeah.
Oh, without yeast?
Without yeast.
Okay.
Really? I'm going to have to look that up. Do you have a video on it?
I thought you could do that with wine, though. That was the thing, because that's why grapes are so...
Well, I don't know. Like I say, the only thing I've tried to make was the apple wine, and I put the yeast in it and the sugar. and put it on the shelf and did the whole thing. But it was supposed to be 3 weeks, and I actually ended up leaving it for closer to 5 weeks. And I have a feeling that was my problem.
Yeah.
I should.
Problem is, right now we don't have any apples on the ground. This year, anyways, they're pretty much all gone.
Yeah, it was a good apple year, but not a fantastic apple year. We've got apples on trees still, which
it probably hasn't frosted enough.
I
That
could
one
probably
tree would probably be decent.
Yeah, I could probably get a 5-gallon pail. I betcha out there.
The pickled eggs is how do you describe it? Good ones are quite good, but it's something that at face value, if you haven't had them, it does sound, like you say, a bit strange.
Yeah, well, the recipe I used is for like a sweet and spicy pickled egg. It's not just kind of like plain pickled. It's not like a dill pickled egg. It's a different flavor, the ones that I'd made. But I'm pretty sure any version of pickled eggs probably is pretty good. But to be honest, I was complete skeptic. I'd never had them until this year, and other people I knew ate them like they were going out of fashion. But I was like, that's gross. I'm not eating it. And then I tried one this year, and I was like, wow, I'm going to make some. So yeah, sometimes you just got to give something a try.
That's something that would be interesting to figure out, how to make yeast, because like Drops is saying, it's kind of everywhere.
Yeah,
I've never looked into it, but I'm sure it's not.
Well, what we need is for the next time Darren is coming past our place, for him to share some of his sourdough starters so that we have sourdough yeast. Yeah. Because I've tried twice now to start sourdough from scratch, and epic fail. Epic fail. Such a waste of flour and sugar and everything to have it not work. Yeah. So next time you're coming by, I'm up for some sharing of sourdough starter.
I thought that was what the case was, that the grapes made their own, because that's why grapes were such a big thing, right? At one point, when you couldn't easily drink water because it was full of stuff.
The ones kind of like the bread and butter pickles, the ones that I use, but they're a little bit different. They're more like have you ever had the vegetables that come in? It's like cauliflower and carrots and all that in a container with it's like a sweet brine. It's kind of like that, right?
I did see your pickled egg video. We didn't get a chance to watch it yet, but we'll definitely go back and check that out. And anybody else who wants to check it out, definitely go and do so. Because it's kind of I don't know. The pickled eggs is also kind of a nice thing because you can, like, they do keep for, like you say, you might not push it, but they keep for a while. So when you get to those times of year when you don't have,
well, or when you have a crazy amount of eggs coming in and can't, if you're not selling them, it's a good way to bank them for later use, because they're really nice cut up on, like, in egg salad or on a potato salad or something like that.
But that's another thing. I'm going to go back to chickens and eggs, because we hear this fairly often where people are like, I've got so many eggs, I don't know what to do with them. And it's like, we never really have that problem. Because it's like, well, you're going to have a time of the year where you don't get as many. And that's just part of the cycle. So you do things like...
Well, it's like right now, all of our birds are molting. And we only have, we're getting maybe...
Might be getting lucky 3 eggs a day.
Yeah, maybe 3 eggs a day. And so in the summertime, when everybody's laying a lot, after the chicks have gotten, everybody's left the nest and they all start laying again, we start banking them in the fridge downstairs, or even just in the cold store room, like in the basement. It's cold enough that they can just sit there. And so now we're eating eggs that are from August in November, because we banked them to see us through until everybody really starts producing again. And it works out great for that.
It's just looking at it a little differently as opposed to always getting it fresh, I guess. You should definitely do a rhubarb patch, Chrissy. Takes a little...
we're not ones to talk about rhubarb patches.
No,
we're
so
unsuccessful with the rhubarb patch.
We didn't look after it. super well.
We keep
but
killing rhubarb and buying more rhubarb, but at our old place we had a gorgeous rhubarb patch. It
once
was
you get a
very
patch
handy.
going, you've got it forever.
But
So
since moving here, we have not been successful because
and it hasn't been high priority because somebody's like, I don't want a lot of rhubarb, and then it's like, who cares? Once you have it, it's there.
I know, and then the geese eat it, and then
Who cares? They want to eat it.
no, they ate it and killed it.
Well, they didn't kill it, but yes, everything that's not supposed to eat rhubarb apparently really likes rhubarb.
Yes. Yeah, the pickled eggs used to be in the bars all the time, sitting on the thing, just like peanuts. It was a big jar sitting on the counter, and you just got pickled eggs.
I wouldn't worry too much, Drops, because we haven't gotten our beets yet either.
Yeah, they're
still out there,
and they're huge. Like they're just huge beets.
So we're looking forward to that.
So
again, maybe this
got to
weekend.
figure out what I'm gonna do with them all. But
hello, altruistic farmstead. How are you guys today or tonight?
Depending where you are, it could be early evening. Could be.
We should know, but. That's one thing, like the blueberry wine. Blueberries are nice to have. I know you're not big on fresh eating them, but you could make that kind of stuff out of them too.
Yeah.
Eventually, that's another job we still have to plant our blueberries, the last of our blueberries.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing, Thorhaven. You plant it, and it takes a few years for it to kind of get established, and then once it gets established, it just kind of, it's there, which is awesome. That's like a perfect plant, and you're getting it at a time of year where you're not getting a lot else, right? I mean, you can keep it going, but that's the thing. If you got a big enough patch, you can harvest heavy off of in the spring. Why bother? Keep keeping it going. Let it go dormant and do what it wants.
Yeah, we put some out in our food forest. It didn't do so well. So now we're going to start some up by the house where we can tend it and look after it just a little bit better, because survival of the fittest isn't working for everything very well in the food forest.
But we know why. It's the soil. Because it was
Hey, Celtic Roots, how are you tonight? Yeah, well, it's very sandy and we didn't do a whole lot of prep, but it's coming now with all our manure hugelculture beds and whatnot. So
it'll be a slow process.
Yeah.
But we've already been discussing other plans for gardens and perennials and all that sort of stuff a little closer to the house.
Yeah.
For the first little bit.
I wish we had as many blueberries as you guys have.
Yes, you guys have tons.
Oh.
Tons of low bush blueberries.
And we find that low bush do way better than high bush.
Well,
they're doing way better. Yeah.
Than the high bush. We're kind of, you can go further north, but where we live in Ontario is, I'm going to say, kind of the northern extent of the high bush blueberries. It's really hard to find them, but there are some wild ones. But they don't go naturally a lot further north.
No, exactly.
Oh, no problem, altruistic farmstead. Completely understandable.
Yeah.
You're cooking a big meal. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And it's almost bedtime. That's kind of usually how things go.
Yeah, exactly. It's the big jobs are always late at night. We do that too. You work best under pressure.
To a point. There is a point at which you don't work better, but
yeah, we don't wash our eggs either.
That's a big thing. I'm sure you know this, honey badgers, but that's a big thing with like duck and goose eggs is not washing them.
Yeah.
Because if you wash them, their shelf life is like nothing. Because you take off that bloom, and then they have a bigger pore size. For anybody who doesn't know, they have a bigger pore size in the egg shell. So as soon as you take the bloom off, there's nothing protecting it from bacteria getting into it. And that's really the biggest reason why duck eggs have never really been commercialized here, because there's no efficient way to clean them the same way as chicken eggs.
Yeah.
Without having like zero shelf life.
Blueberries, moss, and pines. Well, the goats will love the pines.
They'll love the blueberries too.
Yeah,
the downside.
Yeah, they will love the blueberries.
Yeah. That's one thing we've kind of said about the goats. They're like, we enjoyed them while we had them, but they're almost like a pioneer type livestock in that pioneer type species, in that they can come into a localized environment and they do a lot of changing to it. Whereas some livestock are more, what do you call that? They're less damaging on their environment.
Mm-hmm.
Because the goats eventually kind of eat everything they like.
Yeah.
Or destroy everything they like, given the chance. Or you have to have a lot of space.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you reading his one about keeping folks away? Or sorry, where are you?
I don't know where I was reading the one from Drops about having a spare room that's not heated.
Okay.
Which is awesome because that allows you to store stuff.
I told Alex I was kicking her out of her room because I need a new craft room. So she has to move out. Nice. She has to move out. But no, it was what Scott said there about across the river, they're slashing tires to keep people out of the blueberries. Like, that's crazy.
Well, but that's not that far from like Ottawa, right?
You'd have a lot of people, I suppose, coming out.
And you're close enough to have a market for selling those wild blueberries too.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, true. Maybe picking. Yeah, you're right.
So you don't really want the competition.
There'd be reasons behind it, I'm sure. But it sounds
still pretty crazy. Don't mess with red blueberries. For hunting spots.
Well,
some people are very secretive about when they actually know where there's a patch of
blueberries.
It depends where you are. When you get
people are that way about mushrooms too.
Yes, because you can overharvest stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's that's the other part to sustainability. Like collecting wild things is great because you're not responsible for looking after it. It's photobombed by cat. Go down there. But at the same time, it's very prone to. It's like ginseng in Ontario. It's an endangered plant because of overcollecting. Because it doesn't propagate itself fast enough. It doesn't spread fast enough to take a very intensive harvest. Mm-hmm. So it's a great example of you can wipe stuff out pretty quickly if you're not careful.
Yeah. You would share if we came to visit. I'm sure they would. Although I'm sure that they've harvested it all as soon as it's ready because there's packing up their pantry. Mm-hmm. That's what I would do. Well, that's what I do. It doesn't matter if I need it or not. I still keep going, still keep making it.
Oh, yes.
But, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of one of those.
I don't know. It's been not a quiet week because it's been eventful since the last live. But,
yeah, but everything seems like it's winding down. It's like I was saying at the beginning of this. It's you're in this like little bit of a lull. At least we are a little bit of a lull stage. There's still some stuff to get out of the garden, clean up, that sort of stuff, and then it's kind of one of those. You got a month, and then it's up to planning the next year's stuff. Mm-hmm. Although we do need to get some stuff started in the grow room for lettuces and things like that. That's also on the agenda.
Mm-hmm. Next things.
Yes. He'd invite us after they harvested all they wanted. In the off season.
Oh, that's funny. Well, free firewood is not a bad problem to have, but at the same time, that's also a lot of work, so totally understand. So that's why we went earlier too, because the night's coming in. We were talking about it earlier.
Yeah,
it's nicer to start early or earlier. We originally were 9:30, so.
No, we were originally 8:30.
Yes. See, I'm getting tired.
You need to go to bed.
I'm getting mentally exhausted.
No, it's not too bad. The blueberries, though, going back to that, I really, really hope that ours finally do something next year. Don't get me wrong, we've gotten a few off of them here and there, but I really hope, like we have 32 plants. I really hope we see something next year.
Well, but it's also, they've had a really rough go. They've grown a lot, considering this summer they grew a lot. Because we actually got like 3/4 weight in the ground.
Yeah.
The ones that aren't in the ground, we'll see. They're still going to be.
They're still producing more than the ones in the ground.
Well,
this
Still
year
producing.
again. Yeah. The time change, Darren, is just, oh my gosh. We're
It
it's
hits you.
yeah, it's I still operate. It takes me like 2-3 weeks to start operating on it, and I wish they just wouldn't bother doing it because I find it's annoying. Because now I'd much rather have the extra light later in the day than have it be light at 6:30 in the morning. Like I'm quite happy for it to be dark when I wake up. I can still keep going. I hate when it's dark and I still need like it feels like I just did chores in the morning and 2 hours later I'm having to do chores again because it's dark and the chickens are putting themselves away and I need to get stuff done before we lose the light. Oh.
But yeah, no, that
We were actually we were building our tunnel cover greenhouse thing the other night with headlamps because it felt like we were working at 10 o'clock at night and it wasn't. Like, it was 5:30. But we were out there with our headlamps and we took the yard spotlight and put it on it so that we could keep going to at least finish what we were trying to work on.
We wanted to get it to the point where it would support itself.
Yeah.
We did, but didn't quite get that far in the light, unfortunately. But you can still do a lot with headlamps. There's certain things where it's nice, like sorting chickens.
Oh yeah, but it'd be nice to have. Sometimes it'd be nice to have like that big yard light, the kind up on a pole. But I don't know. We've kind of looked into that at our other property, but it wasn't cheap, and so we've kind of just. But we'll figure it out, or we just need to start shutting off earlier. That's also possible.
Possible, but not likely.
Yeah. Scott says yes. Time change is definitely kicking his butt too.
Yeah.
Decorate the cows with Christmas lights.
That could be interesting.
Well, it was kind of one of those things. I was just about ready to turn them on just to give us more lighting.
Yeah, 3:30. Yeah, I suppose it's almost that early when it could.
Dark around 3:30. Yeah. No, because the chickens are not in before. I get the kids off the bus at 4 and the chickens aren't in.
Part of the day?
Yeah.
Like right before
Christmas, yeah.
Okay.
But it's still light when I get the kids off. Not light, but it's still light enough. That's why the chickens are not quite in bed yet. Drops lives on the 47th parallel.
Good night, Thorhaven. We're probably going to do the same here soon because even though we started half an hour early, it feels a lot later. Exactly for the reasons that we're all talking about.
Yeah. Oh, it's the time change.
It is.
It is the time change, I think. But is next weekend Thanksgiving or is it the weekend after for Americans?
I don't actually know. Maybe somebody...
Is next weekend Thanksgiving for Americans or is it the weekend after? This will be terrible because I don't know this. I think it's the weekend after.
I find Thanksgiving the hardest one to keep track of because it never stays. It's the one that, no, it's Easter that never stays the same.
Easter never stays the same.
Thanksgiving does stay the same?
Yeah, it's always, I think, the second last weekend or something. Or maybe it's the last weekend. Anyway, it's different than ours. Ours is over and gone.
You gotta love all these little human-created things that change.
Yeah.
Let's change the time.
Third Thursday of the month of November. Okay. Yeah.
So, not...
The 24th.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. It wasn't this weekend. It was next weekend. So.
You were thinking...
Well, I was going to say Happy Thanksgiving to everybody if it was this weekend, but I didn't think it was. Yeah. Yeah. So, that's not too bad. But yeah, I think... I don't know, unless you have anything else wild and crazy to add.
I don't think we do.
We're just going to keep chugging along. We've got a few little things planned for here and there for some videos and stuff coming up.
Well,
and
the big ones are garlic. Still haven't done that.
Yes, the garlic is we have garlic and butchering are big projects coming up. And we still haven't put our sheep into the breeding groups, which has to happen this weekend. So that's going to be interesting. I did manage to tear down a whole fence and make a big mess in the yard that I ran out of time to keep going on. So maybe tomorrow I'll try and do that between me and his visit and whatnot. But
this weekend is starting to fill up.
Yeah, I'm thinking that this is going to creep into next week. but I don't know. We'll see. The sheep stuff definitely has to be done. So
I kind of like that idea.
November 25th drops in.
Not turn it back. Like Dan's saying, not turn it back and tell other people that we operate on non-daylight savings.
Yeah, that's to be honest. If it weren't for you for work, I would. Well, I guess in the kids with school, but yeah, it just I can't stand the having the time change thing. It makes absolutely no sense to me, and it makes absolutely no sense to our animals either. They certainly do not understand it. They don't. They're cranky out there and whatever because we're late. We're late. So, anyways, that's how it works.
That's going to be.
Drop still has to harvest his celery. We have to bring our celery in because we put it in pots and then
we have the one batch we brought in the house that's already in the green room, and it's actually grow room. It's actually doing really well. The other stuff's doing really well too, but it's out still in the greenhouse.
Yeah,
and
but it should come in.
It should probably come in too.
Yeah,
I'll have to bring in a few things from the greenhouse actually.
There's a sovereign. You're informing the universe of this. I like that. That's good.
And then drops feeds the chickens whenever he gets up. There is not for milking that doesn't work, but there is some merit to that because if you don't have them on a schedule, then the animals don't start begging.
Exactly. As soon as you develop a schedule, the animals expect things, but if you change it up all the time, then they're always thrown for a loop.
But you can't really do that for milk.
No, that's a little.
That's the one that doesn't really work.
Yeah, but that's the thing, and going out at odd times and not feeding them and just letting them complain. They don't need it, but they just think they should get it because you went out there. And it's like, nope, sorry, not happening.
Yeah.
But there's a few critters out there that would not give up.
No. That's very true.
Yeah.
Oh, some good points there. Pretending for money.
Pretending these days for the money. Oh goodness. Don't talk about the C word.
That's very close. That's a word close. Close starts with the letter C.
Yeah. We kind of have, I don't know. We don't have anything wild and crazy planned for December holidays and stuff. It's just kind of
business as usual.
Business as usual, yeah. We've done a little bit of shopping for the kids' stuff and things like that, just to make sure that we don't miss out on things. But yeah, we're not doing anything too wild and crazy.
No. That's awesome that you've got a hen that's gone broody. Drops. That's usually a good problem to have. Xmas and not a C word.
Xmas, there you go.
Words that start with X. Not very many. Xylophone?
X-ray. That was always my go-to. X-ray. Yeah. Xylophone was your go-to?
Xylophone was X, isn't it?
Yeah. I think so, yeah.
There's not that many of them.
Yeah. Me and the kid, we don't celebrate holidays. I don't know.
I'm going to actually say it. It's starting to feel, this is going to sound so negative and so whatever.
Uh-oh.
But it's starting to feel like they're not the same.
Holidays?
Yeah, like
they just seem like they're not. When I was a kid, it was all about the family stuff and just things, and now it just seems like it's commercialized.
Wow, that's been going on forever because Charlie Brown talks about that. Linus actually, but yeah. No, that's a good plan. The nice part with chickens when they go broody too is you can actually move them. That was one of the downsides to like ducks and geese. It's not really possible to move them where they're going to go broody where they want to go broody.
But
because we move chickens all the time.
Oh yeah,
we just do it at night.
At night, just put them into a dog crate and with their eggs make a new nest, and
they usually don't care.
No, And the nice thing is if they're closed in there, even if she gets a little upset, it only takes her a short time to figure it back out and get back on her nest. So yeah, it works out really well.
Yeah, exactly. Every time you turn around, it's a holiday.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to say this. We went to a few stores right before Halloween, and it was crazy. It was like a week before Halloween, and had already switched over.
Yeah,
the Halloween stuff was gone, pretty much.
It was all Christmas stuff.
It was all It was just like, wow, that's a bit crazy. But
yeah, well,
that's the nice part about living in a bubble. You kind of ignore it to a degree.
But well, and it's one of those things that you start to really look at it and pick it apart onto, are we like the consumerism, like the fact that people replace everything we talk about this all the time.
Well, that goes back to the thing about the pigs and that too, right? Even when you're homesteading, you still are a consumer because you still have certain things that you have to purchase, but it's changing what those things are, basically.
Yeah,
and still trying to reduce them. Yeah, 3 weeks. That's crazy. It just doesn't. Well, like you said, that's totally trying to make as much money out of the situation as possible.
Or they're trying to milk it because like last year was a real off year, I think, for people in Christmas because of COVID, and nobody really vamped it up or did anything. I think because I mean a lot of Christmassy functions were not operating and stuff, but it just seems like, and then you go in and it's like people are just crammed in those aisles and just buying tat. I have no other word to call it besides tat.
It is what it is.
But
that is really awesome about the hen. That's cool too because
I love Wyandottes. They're so pretty.
That was kind of
probably. It was kind of a runner-up. What are the ones we got? The black ones.
We got the silver laced.
Silver laced, yeah. But we still stuck with the partridge in the end.
Yeah, well, they're very similar in a lot of ways. Not exactly, but
we actually have one. We have one hen, and it's interesting because we've been doing the Chanticleers for 6 or 13. You've been doing it for 13 years now, and there's one that's come out, and she has the Wyandotte penciling on her. Like she looks like a Wyandotte, which is interesting.
But
not in her head, but just the way her feathers are.
Chanticleer, it's like the one that has the couple that have the dark Cornish look to them.
Yeah,
those breeds were part of the development of
how they were created. So for some reason, we've got a throwback to one of them showing the Wyandotte markings really well.
Stuff happens. They often call it there's a term they call them sports where they come out as. You've tracked it for X amount of time. It's worse with breeds that have colors and patterns because there's a lot of other genes going on there. But
I never posted our video of the second hen that we had that hatched out babies that we didn't even know she was there because was it maybe 3 weeks ago now that we posted the video of the one hen had chicks.
About 2 weeks ago.
And anyways, we didn't realize because. We have so many chickens running around and they're all free range. So you kind of, you do rough head counts every now and then, but you just kind of hope that everybody comes back. And usually they do. Anyways, so this one had started sitting and she hatched out her babies. We didn't even realize she was sitting until close to the end.
No, we did know.
Oh, okay. She was one that we moved. Anyways, we moved her into this little stall and I could hear a chicken talking. And I was like how they talk to the chicks. But it wasn't coming from the stall. And I was like, you're kidding. So anyways, as I was looking around, just the other side of the wall, under a shelf, this mom had sat a nest under there. And she was talking, I think, to the chicks that had hatched already in the stall because hers hadn't hatched at that point. But she hatched hers out 2 days later. So she'd been sitting for the 3 weeks and we hadn't even noticed she was missing. But anyway, so now she's got a stall to herself as well with her chicks. So we've got lots of baby chicks going into the cold season, but that's okay. We did last year too, though. We had late season ones as well. So
these are still ahead of the ones last year.
Yeah, so. We're pretty terrible for letting hens sit. We do a lot. And I think that's one of the things. It's a nice thing because it also staggers our meat because those chicks will not be ready until springtime to butcher. So it works actually quite well. I did
Yeah.
notice that the one there, she's got 6 roosters. She's got 3 hens with 6 roosters. So we'll have lots of dinner from those ones. But
as the honey badger says, that's all part of farming.
exactly.
Homesteading, or whatever you want to call it.
And it's nice when
Growing
things just
food.
happen without even really trying to do it.
Mhm.
I think that's one of the things that's really nice, because if you could bet if you were really trying that they wouldn't do it.
Well, yes,
In the off season, I bet you wouldn't.
Oh, if
get
you're
them.
trying, yeah, no. That's
If
true.
you were trying to get them
I
to
was
do
gonna
it
say,
in fall,
in the proper season.
oh,
yeah,
in the
they would,
spring,
but-
there's no problem. But when it comes to if you wanted a bunch of birds to sit in the fall so that you had late season meat, none of them would sit. You could be sure of it.
Good night, Chrissy.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in. We're probably gonna.
Yeah, well, I
end
think
here
let's wrap
shortly,
her
too,
up.
But I was gonna say to drops, the black Australorps are a nice breed too. 'Cause that's another one that I had looked into early on.
They're not the ones that are all black, are
Yeah,
they?
they're all.
Oh yeah, they're
basically all
cool.
black.
Yeah.
They still have the red comb wattles, but they're
Mhm.
they're nice ones.
Yeah.
And they're quite big. They're big. Well, they're related to the Orpingtons,
Okay. Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
At some point along the line. But yeah, we're not too worried about any of these chicks because when they have the hen with them, they don't even have
she
to
looks
have
after them like the one, because she hatched hers on those days when it was -4, -6, and they were fine. So
Mhm.
and now, like you say, they're running around and pecking at things, and she's doing a great job. So I'm not too worried. And hopefully there'll be no more surprises. We still don't have an actual head count, so there could be chickens sitting in the loft for all I know.
Well, there's places.
Or it's like the one that's in the hay feeder, Bucky's hay
I don't
feeder.
think she's sitting. She's pretty alert.
Yeah, but there's this one hen, and I put hay up in Bucky's feeder. This would have been 2 weeks ago, because we were going to bring them into the barn at night, and then we decided not to. And she sleeps in that hay feeder all the time. So I said, "You watch. If you go up there and look, there's probably a whole whackload of eggs in
Check
there."
that tomorrow.
So that would not be a good place for them to hatch.
Good night, Scott. We're
Yes.
going to. I think, like you said, we're going to call it a night
Yep.
too and do the same thing because I didn't sleep super well last night.
I know
You
you're
didn't,
kind of zombified here,
Yeah,
but
that's all right. Sometimes to be a zombie.
yeah, the kids would think so. Sure, Halloween's over. You can't be a zombie now.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, Halloween's over, but
Well, unless I'm starting a nightmare before Christmas.
oh well, there you go. That could be next. But anyways, I hope everybody had a great week, and that the next week coming up is fantastic. And we'll see you next week on our live for a catch up.
We'll be a little more animated and what have you. But yes, I agree. I've never had them, but from reading about them, that the black Australorps are a really good, like cold hardy, good laying breed. That still has a lot of those good dual purpose characteristics in them. I think that's the big thing if you're getting chickens. You want chickens that
Can do it all.
Yeah. Dual purpose doesn't give you massive broiler type meat birds, and it doesn't give you
Well, the one thing
leghorn quantity of eggs, but it still feeds your family no problem. No matter what kind you choose in the end.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing saying that you can't still bring in meat birds. Like that's one thing, but I think people do need to keep a flock that is
well, but it's still
it's
still an expense thing because if you've got the resources like space and whatnot to have the dual purpose flock.
Oh, but I'm saying you could
need...
still have the dual purpose flock and still bring in if you want extra meat because they're not a huge meat producer. Then you could still do that.
But what do we figure? If we did how much meat we did the math on this. We'll talk about it another one. We did the math on this about how much meat we'd be able to bring in from the chickens.
This year?
Yeah. Or if we produced 80 of them.
Oh, well, 80 of them is 400 pounds of meat.
Yeah, so you can still bring in a lot. It's just different.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Yeah, there is something about friendly chickens. I don't know why. I have a thing for
makes it enjoyable.
Yeah, there's something about it's not that they're a pet, but it's just
they can be.
Yeah, that's true.
We have a couple that are that way, but
I like the ones that I can actually you can pet or they follow you around because they enjoy your. Well, they're just looking for food. They don't enjoy my company, but
I think that's questionable. We have that one rooster that I think isn't that bad. The old one,
Yeah.
he's not normal.
Yeah,
He's very
stuck
docile.
around because he is very quiet and good, which is nice. But anyways, on that note, let's wrap it up.
You can always tell it's getting time for us to wrap up for those who are still in
The
there,
cats
because
come because they
will
want
start
their
showing up
food.
behind us.
Yeah, the cats all come because it's time for
Time to feed them.
yeah. That's what they're saying.
See, this is where they, like you said, their time schedule hasn't changed. They're
No.
the same one. Well, that's cool. You used to have them too.
Well, there you go.
I don't know if we ever switched, but I don't think we ever will.
No, we're committed. We've got way too many of them now, and yeah. Well, we like the partridge chanticleers, so
yeah,
that's the number of people that we've had ask us from America if we can,
ship them, but
ship them eggs, ship them whatever. But it's such a process, which is too bad because they're a breed that would do really well in some parts.
Oh yeah, we've had quite a few people from Alaska ask about it.
Yeah,
like they probably do
amazing.
Fantastic,
yeah,
to get permission to ship across border is
a little bit
a lot of paperwork and stuff to go through. But
yeah,
anyways, I'll be back with the kitten.
Yeah. So. Yeah, they're telling us it's time.
Yep, time yes.
The eggs. The yolks are smaller.
Oh, for the golden sex-link hens. That's interesting, actually, that the Australots lay a bigger egg than the more commercial layers. Probably the case if you actually track them for a year, though, or the Australots probably produce a little less.
Oh.
But then, for a homestead scale, that doesn't matter as much as it does for an industrial operation where every unit has to produce the maximum.
Oh, exactly. But
all right.
Have a great night, everyone.
Catch everybody later.
Yeah. And, the cats are just like, they're about to get up. They said the words.
But thank you very much, and we'll catch everybody later this week.
Bye for now.